How do we meet? Oh my God, we met when he became a police officer. I have been like the liaison to RPD from the district for 31 years. I did that. And so I would make arrangements of the students groups to be part of the police department at the public safety building and stuff like that. And I was working in the Clinton section area very closely. He started as a young police officer, and by then I already knew him through the academy. Back many, many years, there were very few officers. So I was asked by the captain of the Clinton section to go to Albany for a training. And we had the DARE program, which was a drug program. And we didn't have Latinos to be teaching that program in our city. And we only had a couple officers. So I went to the police training to learn that training and do it with the parents and do it in the schools with the students. As a Latina with Spanish-speaking parents and families. And Manny had just started in the force when I met Manny, and we were side by side working. So it's been a couple decades of knowing him. But he became the brother, an amazing brother. One that I can tell you that it doesn't matter what you were doing, he would be there for you. All you had to say is, hey, this is happening. He said, I'll be there. Even if it was in his uniform during his time, and roll up his sleeves and say, I'm here, what can I do? But then he was a different one, a different person, because he had a heart of gold, that it was about the people and the passion and loving. And that smile that was so charismatic was infectious. He lit up a room, and everybody knew that that was a personality that just walked in that they wanted to get to know and embrace. And his smile embraced you with the love that came in his heart. And that, I think, is what created the Manny that this community got to know, to love, and to see him as a passionate man. Though he wore a badge and had to be a strong man, he still was a passionate man and had empathy and would put himself in their shoes of, well, if it was me. And so that was always in the back of his mind, that he treated everybody with that respect and that love. He had an amazing impact because he touched so many lives. It wasn't about one specific group, it was about the community. And it didn't have to be just Latino, it was our African American community that loved him too. I heard DKX talking about it the other day, and I was like, that was Manny. It was about the kids, talking to them, trying to be a great role model, and that's an impact that starts early. So I have seen students that have admired him, respected him, and have gone on. He would pull them down and say, hey, education is important. What are you doing, buddy? Hey, it's like, come on, dude. That word, I remember it. And it's about touching the lives of others, and that's what he did. And that impact, I know of so many that followed in his footsteps, that listened to him, that he touched. And when you look at the elderly, they love Manny. They saw him grow from a young man to a man. That's the person I saw, and that's the brother that he was. That it didn't matter if he knew something was happening in your life, he was constantly calling, are you okay? And more recently, I remember him saying, I know you're here because someone tagged you. And it was like, I'm just stopping by to make sure you're okay. That was like the caring person that always had something behind about what can I do to help someone? And it was always about helping our community at every aspect, from the Hispanic Heritage Committee to our LAPS Committee, which is the Latino Advancement for Public Service. He was very much about, we need to have more role models like us because we have so many minorities in our city and they don't see the positive. of things, but we need to emphasize the positive. I've seen a lot of younger officers that have come in that haven't been involved in the community start stepping up, because he was about embracing them as brothers and about motivating them into what he considered his passion, which was the community. I saw one of his partners, which I've spoken to and is devastated, who's younger. And I actually saw him as a student in one of my schools. And now he's an officer and was one of Manny's right hand. And I've seen him step in those shoes as well and be out in the community getting involved. That is like, wow. You see that one person can make a difference. I would say there was many events where the Red Cross needed help. We've had hurricanes. The last one in my mind was Hurricane Maria. And I was running the telethon. I've been part of the Red Cross going on 38 years. And I said, I need you. Manny was there, but he had a lot of his Latino officers. He called them. He's like, just a telethon. We need to get on the phones. We need to man them. And I had my police officer brothers there. I had the fire department there. But he was instrumental at making those contacts for me while I contact organizations and other members of the community. It was about, if you gave him a project, it was about stepping up and being there. I lost someone I loved very much. And I will always call him a brother. I pray for him and the entire family and our entire community, because, I honestly believe that he impacted our lives in such a positive way. And just to know Manny was to feel loved, was to feel cared, was to feel nurtured by him. And not everybody is a true friend. My mother always said, and my grandma always said, true friends you can count in one hand, because when you're going through a hard time, those are the ones that are there for you. And Manny was one of those for me. So while I miss him, I will miss him dearly. I will miss the brother, the friend, the mentor, my colleague. It was someone that has touched a lot of lives. And I know I'm not the only one mourning, because I have so many calling, crying on the phone as well, hurting. And our community's hurting, but I think we need to think about what he brought to us and us pass that on to others. And that would be the best thing that we could do in his memory. That's my tribute to Manny. And that is the tribute that I want those people that knew Manny, whose lives he touched, to do the same thing.
What's one memory?
One memory that I will never forget is his knowing what I was going through and picking up the phone and saying, I'm here for you. Where are you? And I'll be there. And just his knowing that I had an aching heart was enough to say, I'm here for you. Not everybody does that. And that's the memory that most lingers in my mind, how much I will miss that person. And that Manny that I so much loved, because he was a great brother, a great father, a great man in our community. And I'll never forget that. You told me you weren't going to do this to me. Do you have a tissue? Oh.
I give you a spot. Thank you. I'm tired.
I know. Just remember, you meet so many people and you hear so many stories, and think about yours, because tragic things happen in this life. And You never know who's going to be the next person who tragically is impacted, and we're impacted by so many ways. You know, losing someone that you've cared, losing a good friend, losing, you know, a loved one is something that just happens. Thinking about Friday, and I've been to quite a few officers' funerals, and they have, you know, been there in my life, but no one has touched it like Manny did. And I was supposed to be away. I was supposed to leave on Tuesday to Florida to visit a friend, and there was no way I would leave without paying my respect and being there for my brother. He was amazing, and I know a lot of people will be there. I hope a lot of people are there because he impacted a lot of people. And you can't give someone a bigger respect than to be there at their last moments. It's going to be a big crowd. You know, he left 3 beautiful children behind, and I think the one memory that they will always have in their heart was the love that he had for them. They were his life. His sisters, oh my goodness. I mean, when you talk sisters, the love for family was so strong. And we have to say, we're blessed to have known him. And Friday is going to be hard for our community, but I think it's also a healing point in which we have to heal together and mourn together and cry together, because many of us have been crying since the moment we heard the news. Josh, you know, there's a lot of stories you cover, and I know you cover different things in every part of this community, but tragedies is probably one of the hardest things to see in life, and to see that impact so many people.
I know, I'm like trying to hold back too because it's making me emotional.
It is. It is. You had that personality, that lovingness personality that I remember that I always say Manny has, is that loving personality that when you see someone, you beam them up. And he used to beam people up with just a smile and his words of encouragement.